Be quiet. And you know it's stressful when a couple of the students turn around and tell them to shut up. So I won't tell you guys that. I'll look at you maybe, but I won't say anything. But I know you're listening to your teacher. My name is Larry Wittenbach. I live here in Tyler. I've lived here since 1970 when I got out of the Marine Corps. Married a gal here, and in 71, we're still married. 2 children. We lost a son in 1993, and our daughter graduated here in '03, a long time ago. So she's worked for Pluto Legal. I work at Sturdevant's Auto Parts. I've been there since '02. I am the manager. Actually, I'm a partner. I bought into it, and I'm a manager too, so I have hired help. And what we do there is we sell automotive parts, we sell accessories, and it's enjoyable. I used to be a Ford mechanic for 25 years, and this opportunity came up, so I snapped it up because I got tired of cutting my hands and doing everything like that with wrenching. So I do still have some old customers that come in and ask me a bunch of questions about the old Ford stuff. It's still up here, and they get their answers, or I find their parts, and on the way they go. So, in business, one of the important things that I found out, being a manager, is you got to keep this zipped, because the customer is always right. It's not true, but you got to treat them like they're always right. It's hard. It was very hard for this guy to bite his tongue. I'm outspoken. My wife tells me that. She says, you better be quiet sometimes. So, I don't know what I'll just let you guys ask some questions, and I'll go from there. Anybody? Go ahead.
How many years were you in the Marine Corps for?
I enlisted, and my brother enlisted with me. And he had to do 4 years because he was under 18. I got to do 2, and I spent 18 months in Vietnam, and I got out, and I got honorably discharged in 1975. So I was over in Vietnam. My brother, we met over there. My brother's since passed away. I'm the oldest of the family, so that tells you I had 7 siblings under me. So yes.
How many hours do you work a week?
That depends. Usually I'm down there because I get parts in every night. I go down there, I'm down there between 5:30 and 6:30 in the morning, and I don't get out of there until 6:30 at night. And I do have a dinner break in there, but that's about it. So, and I've been doing it since the day I started because I want to make sure when the parts come in, I want to make sure they're there. We get them ready for the customers so that they're not waiting for me to unload them or get them ready. So when they walk in that door in the morning, their ticket's there and they grab the parts and go. Because they need to keep their customer happy too, so. Yes?
How has technology influenced your career?
Wow. I was not a computer nerd or whatever. It took me a while to learn the system. I have a gal that works for me now. I don't know, she has been trying to do online schooling for computer. Yeah, she's taught me a lot, but just doing what I do, well, I should go back. When I worked for Ford here in Tyler, we had a computer, and when it came across what we had to order, it was, I don't know if you've ever seen them tapes that come out of like the ticker tape, you know, they just punch holes in. I had to go into that computer and type in what the part number was. Then it punched a hole, and then we had to take that tape, then we had to run it through another machine, and that went to Ford up in the cities. So then when I left here, I went to Brookings, and that was a long drive, so then I went over to Marshall, worked for Marshall Ford until I took over here. And I don't know if anybody know Larry DeBoer. He had the Chevrolet dealership here. Well, Tholen bought him out prior to him buying it back. But the 2 of us worked together, and he taught me a lot about computers. I'd have to he'd be down here and they'd have a problem up there and I'd get on the phone and he'd walk me through it. So I learned a lot through that way, but technology is changing so fast. We talk about the corporation, and my salesman, I have a salesman that covers 4 stores, and we talk about the technology of this, right here. You know, people are ordering more and more parts online, and I can't think of the name of the company right now, but they ship their parts out free of charge. So it is changing dramatically, and I think in the next 5 years, hopefully, well, I'm planning on retiring next year, so, but hopefully that doesn't close this store because the store here is so much integrated with the area towns. So I get a lot of people that come. Yes?
What do you do when something goes wrong or is misunderstood?
You mean what, with a customer?
Yeah, like ordering parts and stuff.
Well, that just happened today. What happened is I called my customer, right away when I get there, I call the warehouse, and I can't get a hold of anybody until about 5 minutes to 8. And I unlock the door at 8. But I call down there and I say, hey, I'm missing these parts. And usually what the rule of thumb is we have a truck that goes from Sioux Falls to Slayton. I think they might, no, they don't go Jackson. They do about 5 stops. And I'm second to the last stop. And if the part's not in there, like we were looking for a low-level sensor for a pickup, and I called in and I said, I'm missing the sensor. And rule of thumb is, other stores are supposed to call you and let you know if the part's there. You know, it's just courteous. Whenever I get somebody else's part, you can go on the computer and you can see who ordered it. And I'll call them and let them know I got it. This morning, nobody called me, so I called the warehouse and I said, I'm missing these 2 AC Delco parts. So what they did is they got them ready for me if I was gonna go to Slayton and pick them up. And the customer said he could wait until after dinner, so they got a truck that's called Hot Shot. So what they'll do is they'll take them out of Sioux Falls and they run a truck up just with our parts that we need Hot Shot. I mean, I paid for it, but it gets them here so that they're still going right after dinner. So that's satisfaction guaranteed right there, so.
But your company sucks up the cost on that.
No, we do, I do it
Yeah.
as the store.
Yeah.
The store gets the brunt of it, unless the guy at the other end, which his name is Elliot, if he says it's their fault, then they'll pick up the tab, they'll pay for it to come to me. Because after it leaves me, then his flying room, and that's it, so then they're on the way home.
What was your very first job like before you went to the service?
My very first job? I had 3 jobs.
And how did it impact what you were gonna do in the future, like your job now?
None of those jobs, well, one of them, but I was a pizza maker. I did Joe's Pizza, we did that. I got out of high school, when school was over with, I'd go to a DX station, which was a gas station, and I was their peon mechanic. I'd do that until 10 o'clock. From 10 o'clock, then I'd go over to Joe's Pizza, and then I would do pizzas until midnight. And then I'd get done with that, and then I'd go clean the church. And I'd get home about 2 in the morning, then I'd get my homework done, I'd go to sleep, and I'd go back to school. That's what I did back then, because if you wanted money, that's what you had to do. And that's the only way I did it, to get my own cars, so.
Did it pay well?
Well, if you call 75 cents an hour for one job, $1.25 for the other one, and $1.50 for the other one, so. It's not like what it is
Wait,
today.
what was the third one?
Third one was cleaning the church,
Okay, so there was the pizza and cleaning the church, and what was the other one?
working at a gas station.
Oh.
What kind of benefits do you get from working at your current job?
My current job, I do have health insurance, I pay a part of that, everything, my wife and I. I get, well, let's see, how many weeks of vacation do I get? I think I get 3 weeks of vacation now, so. And when I need a day off, I can take it off, no risk in pay, anything like that, because I'm salaried.
So is that part of your vacation time? If you take a sick day or if you take a personal day to...
Well, I tried, when I ended up in the hospital at the VA, and I had back surgery in 2010, 2 times. And my second time, I got up about 4 in the morning to go to the bathroom. I stood up and pulled my PJs up, and I hit the floor. And all I remember was something telling me to pull that chain. A blood clot had passed through my heart and landed in my lung. And those were 4 months that I was in the VA over there for that. And they questioned about me coming back. I said, oh, I'll be back. Well, we need you back. I said, yeah, I know. Well, we're gonna have to find somebody to take over your store. And I said, no, you're not, because I'm getting out of here Thursday. Well, the doctor hasn't released you. I said, well, that doctor went on vacation for 2 weeks. So how am I supposed to get permission from him? So I told his PA, I said, you gotta get the paperwork ready, because I'm going home. And I did. The next day, Friday, I went home, and I had to have home health service come in, and I had a PICC line here, and they had to put in an IV for 2 hours. That IV had to be in. Then I could go to work with another IV that I kept in my pocket. So,
Because some companies, they're not doing regular sick leave anymore.
correct.
That you get your sick leave, you get your personal leave, whatever it is, it all counts as
Counts
part
as
of
a
that
part of
3
that
weeks.
3 weeks.
So it's not like you get a chunk of 3 weeks where you're just gone.
Right.
So
The problem with our vacation is they want you to take not 1 day or 2 days. You say you're going on vacation, they want 1 week in a span, gone, you're gone. Because corporations look at it that it's a relaxed time for you. It's time to get away from everything. When you come back, you're refreshed, okay? I haven't had a vacation other than that hospital stay, and that wasn't a vacation either, but according to them it was. But yes,
What all kind of advertisement do you use? Like, do you guys use like websites as well as?
we have our
radios, like
own
that?
website. Anybody can go on it. It's sturdevants.com, you know, so you can get onto the site, you can look at the site and different things. There's different things you can merge through or go through.
What about radio?
They haven't done a lot on radio. They do, and they used to do TV. The guy that used to run Brookings, he used to do a lot of the ads for Sturdevant. He was a good man, so. But other than that, that's all.
In the newspaper? Do you have any?
Yeah, they do ads. I put ads once in a while in, or, so it's, advertisement is there.
and you do sponsorship, like you're a yearbook sponsor, and Sturdevant's usually sponsors.
I do things up at the
senior-
hospital, you know, and, you know, there's donations that way and stuff like that. So the name is out there.
You help with the Europe trip.
Pardon?
And you help with the Europe trip.
Europe trip.
What do you believe makes a good company or business?
Repeat that, please.
What do you believe makes a good company or business?
What makes a good company? You gotta have the people that are upstairs, is what I call the higher ups. You gotta have them so that they understand what you're talking about. They got, most of the people in corporate right now that at Sturdevant's, they are past managers. Other than the original owner, he passed away here 4 years ago, Jack Sturdevant. His son Tim is running it now. And we're in with a big, there's 3 companies that join together, it's called The Group, through Federated and stuff in it. It is a good thing because what it does is it gives us a different parts lookup and stuff, because the old system we had, I couldn't go past 92. This one I can go to 1896. In 1896, the only thing they have is one spark plug, but that fits that one vehicle. But, you know, and it goes up from there to present. So you can, they have really worked to try and get everything updated, fast moving and stuff like that. So we have a problem with the cable system here in town, but we're fighting that too, so.
They required college, like education to do that?
No.
Or?
No.
No?
Usually what they like, to become a manager at Sturdevant's, they would like somebody that has actually turned wrenches. I mean, we have women that are managers. Terry over in Brookings, she's a manager. But she worked in the store prior to being a manager with the manager that passed away over there. So she is a manager. Wendy, my gal, she could run that store like that, no problem. Because when I hired her, 7 years ago? 8 years ago? Something like that. She says, I said, you looking for a job? And she said, oh yeah, but I don't know nothing about this. And I said, I'll teach you. I said, it's, you know, I pulled plans off the computer, different drawings to show her what brakes were, what power steering was, where the transmission, different things like that. Once she got a hold of the initial, and she's so fast on the computer, it's just ridiculous, you know. I'll ask her, I said, did you look at, yeah, I looked that up 5 minutes ago, okay. So I have a good woman there, so.
Okay, so you kind of classified yourself like an extrovert, right?
Yes,
You said you're outgoing. Is that harmful or helpful most of the time when dealing with customers that are upset?
kind of little of both.
Yeah.
I like to close my mouth once in a while, and it's hard to do, you know. I've kicked a few people out. They're, to me, I call them know-it-alls. Yeah, I still have a few of them, but they know where I stand, because I have it right in front of me, and I've had the experience, so I know what I'm talking about, you know. The newer stuff in the computer programming in vehicles and stuff, I was in that, and I was glad I left when I did, because it's just getting, everything is computer operated. Your steering, your alternator, everything goes through the computer, so you're gonna have to be a computer expert to check and work on a car. You had a question?
How does your company determine the pricing?
They go by national market. What they do is they pull in all the prices in the national market. They look at it, then they bring it to the local market. Now what I'm saying local is Sioux Falls area. And then what they do is they have to make their money, the corporate office. I don't know what their margin is. Technically, I can see what it is on the computer, what their cost is, but we never sell anything. And I never sell anything out of that store at list price. There's a shop in town. He was upset with me one time. He said, why did you tell this gentleman that? I said, I don't sell anything out of this store at list. They get a discount just like everybody else. The shops in town get a better discount because they gotta put it on, resell it, that's how they make some of their money, besides labor, so.
What was the most important thing you learned in high school?
Ooh. That's a long time ago. I graduated in 1968. So, I think the most important is to work with people. Try and understand. I had a librarian, can't remember her name, but I think she was the key in my life. I was a hellion. I raised hell. In 6th grade, I flunked the whole year. I got straight Fs, except for when it was spelling bee, a history bee, or English bee. You know, I'd win them all. I knew my stuff, but I just wouldn't put it down on paper. And when I got I think I was a junior when I got to meet her. And we had audio-visual class, which we had the movie projectors, we had all the overheads and stuff like that. And then this audio-visual class, we had to give all the announcements over the school system. And mind you, we had 370-some kids in our school building. We graduated with 700 some on the football field. So, but there was 3 schools together. And we weren't paired, we were just sharing. We all graduated at the same time and put it all on the football field. She taught me the most thing in life that has stuck with me, to treat people as you want to be treated, and respect. Yes?
What would you want to be if you weren't at your current job?
Retired.
What are you going to do in your retirement? Do you have plans, or are you just gonna?
When I retire, we just purchased a new shed. I don't know if you've seen them down on 75, going to Pipestone, they're on the, okay, I bought one of them. I put it in my backyard, it's all wired to the building. I did all the wiring inside. I've got it all insulated. Dalton, Robert, he's gonna help me with the ceiling. He's been helping me. And this Saturday, he's gonna help me put the ceiling back up, because I had to take it down for the inspector. So, I've got most of the walls down, I got all the wiring done, I got past the inspection. And that's the other thing, when I was growing up, I learned to be an electrician, but I didn't wanna go that route because I hated algebra. You know, I hated it, so I didn't do anything with it, and I think back then I could've got by without it, but, you know, you had to do some algebra questions on the testing and stuff like that, I wasn't even going there, so, but I worked for another summer job, I worked putting apartment buildings up in the cities. We carried 5/8 sheetrock up 7 flights of stairs, you know, I mean, 2 of us, so. And then we'd help the electricians, we'd get to pull wire, we'd get to put outlets and switches and lights up, you know, so. I learned a lot that way. I had a lot of hands-on different jobs through my life.
What do you plan on doing with the shed?
I have, right now, I have it set up, it will be set up with my table saw, my miter saw, workbench, I'll play around with woodworking a little bit, so. Yes?
Did you enjoy your job at Ford?
Oh yeah, I loved it, except for Marshall. We had a boss over there, the owner. He didn't respect anybody, and that's the truth. We had a guy that he fired 2 weeks before Christmas. We had a guy fired 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. No reason. And then he fired me, because on my dinner hour, I would walk, I think it was about a mile. I'd walk around the whole section and, of where the buildings and stuff were. And I'd come back to work and do my job. And one day he called me in his office and he says, I hear you're looking for a job. I said, I always look for something to better myself, you know. I went to Coca-Cola or put an ad in, and that was on my dinner hour. Well, you're fired. Huh? I said, what am I supposed to do for a job? He said, well, you come, I'll pay you the rest of this week, and you come back next week and I'll see if I got a job for you. So I was out and really thought about it, and I started looking, that's my phone buzzing. I'm sure it's the store. So I came back and I says, well, I'm back. He said, well, where were you? I mean, this guy loses his mind once in a while, but I said, you fired me last week. Oh yeah, now I remember. I said, so do you have a job for me? You know, my wife and I, we were worried about it, you know, because there wasn't a lot of jobs around back then. And he said, yeah, I got one for you. I traveled the United States for him. You know all the Swans home delivery trucks? We'd go up to Niagara Falls. I'd inspect all the trucks up there. We'd go down to Cleveland, Georgia, inspect all them, go to Mississippi, go up to Washington, D.C., state of Washington, and check. We had to inspect all these trucks, and what they had to do is, you took a nickel, and you put that in the tire tread, and if the head showed, the tire was worth nothing. But if the head was there, it was all right. So they charged back for what was wrong with that vehicle. But I had to write all this down. So in Cleveland, Georgia, we had 43 trucks I had to inspect. One of them, the clutch lever, they're all manual. There was a couple of automatics, but clutch lever fell off down by the bell housing. And I seen it right away when I looked under there. Went in and the clutch pedals to the floor. The whole truck was perfect. There was nothing wrong with it. Except the guy said the clutch is out. And I said, and I was not supposed to touch anything. I was not supposed to fix it or put it together or anything like that. And we got back to Marshall, and we drive everywhere. Got back to Marshall, and the boss came in and he says, what's going on down in Cleveland, Georgia? And I said, well, there was a lot of problems. And I explained to him what was going on with this one truck with the clutch. We had some with broken windshields, cracked windshields, everything. He said, oh, okay. And I had it all documented, and then Swan's corporate office called us liars. So they took the big boss down, and they looked at them all, and he said, well, we couldn't find that truck. I said, no, because he said he was going to, he called us and told us that he was told to fix it. And I didn't tell who the mechanic was, but, oh, okay. So that's when Swans and Tholen's got into an uproar. So I don't know if they're still doing it or not.
How do you organize your work time?
By seat in my pants. No, I know what every day is expected out of me. Usually, when I get there, you know, the routine, you get into a routine with this, because first thing I do is when I get in is I make sure the parts are there. If they're not, I make a phone call. And when the parts are there, I haul them in, and then I bring them inside and I check every piece in. And if there's something missing, now, before I had to call it, and now it's on the computer, it's called a discrepancy sheet. So what I do is I pull that number up, that ticket, and then every person that puts something in one of these totes, and their tote, they're supposed to put their number. They used to put their initials, and you couldn't read that. There's a couple numbers you can't read either, but we can get them, but we put their number on that, we send it in, and we send it as a short. Or if we get something extra, we're supposed to put it on there as a long with no ticket number, because we don't know what ticket it was actually supposed to be on or whose it was. So immediately they get that after I send it right away. So when I'm missing a part or a long part, they get it that morning. So they know if somebody's looking for something, they know where it's at. But each day, you get ready, you make sure everything is done. At the end of the day, I have to count the money and make bank deposit, and then I send the paperwork into corporate, so then they double check everything, so. I did get a compliment from one of the gals. She says, as long as I've worked here, Tyler has never been 1 penny short and 1 penny long. So,
Congratulations, that's
Yeah.
hard to pull off.
yes, it is.
And side note, you mentioned people's handwriting.
Yes.
Want to talk about that a little bit?
Handwriting is, printing is fine, but when you do, well, they call it cursive, and I never heard of it as that, I heard it as penmanship when I was growing up, but I was kicked out of kindergarten when because I knew how to cursive my name all the way through. And the teachers got upset and says, that's our job, not yours. So what do they tell you now? Your parents are supposed to help, right? Technically, your parents are supposed to help you teach you. Well, anyhow, I've got some pretty good handwriting. People don't complain about mine, but I've got some that, you know, you can't read them. You know, if somebody comes in, your dad is good at that. Writes a check out, who's that, you know? But if you know who it is, you know, you can understand it. But and then I get people to forget to sign their checks. I've run 37 miles, drove 37 miles to get a signature, because the bank will not take it. So, you know, that falls on your responsibility too. Yes?
Does it happen often that they're short a part that they send you, or are they better?
Maybe once, 2 times a week. So they got a, what do they call it, barcode system? I don't think they're using it yet. Because there's a barcode on the tote, and then they're supposed to scan the part number, because they got barcodes on it. And then that tells them what totes it's going. Well, they evidently must not be working because nobody's following through.
How do you deal with rude or upset customers?
How do I do that?
How do you deal with them?
I walk in the back room for a little bit. Then I come back up, because I know what they're after. And then I visit with them and I said, okay, what do we need to do to correct this? You know, you gotta be on their side. It's wrong, but you have to be on their side, because 9 times out of 10, the customer is in the wrong spot. You know, and I don't tell that to everybody, but it is. It's the truth, because they come in here, they're so worked up about it. And then when you start trying to explain it to them, I had 2 of them just last week. And they said, well, this is what you ordered. We got it written down here, and here's your note. Oh, it is. So then that one backed off. You know, I mean, he cooled down, he said, I'm sorry. You know, and if I'm in the wrong, I'll tell him. You know, like the other day I ordered a part, I forgot to order a part. I thought I wrote it because I had it circled on my order sheet. Then I called the customer and I said, I apologize, your part's not gonna be here at noon, like I said it was, because I had it circled. I thought I ordered it with the other 2, but I didn't. So that's all right, we'll work with it tomorrow. So, you know, so if you're up front and tell them right away what's going on, they don't have a problem with it. Yes?
How do you market your business, like newspaper ads and whatever? How do you get your name out?
Well, most of the people ask, or the newspaper like Tyler Tribune, they come out. And Mark is pretty good. I do, you know, and you can see Sturdevant sponsoring all the sports ads. I said, that is an all-time, don't even come and ask me that anymore, that's always supposed to be there. But I have the ads put in the paper, he'll give me, when you sponsor a senior, I do that. There's different things I sponsor, as long as it's school involved, Sturdevant is gonna be there. Because I was on the school board here for almost 18 years. And that was too long. After doing that, my last year, I was like a mummy. My brain was mush. Because I couldn't do what everybody wanted to do. And I just said, I'm done, you know, I mean, I didn't argue with anybody, or I just thought I think, being like a politician, they should be on maybe 4 years, then off a year, so they get some new people in there. Because then everybody has a new perspective of what's going on with that.
Did you go to college for your career?
I went to Canby Tech. My career started when I was 7 years old, believe it or not. I loved working with my father on automobiles and different things. And one thing happened when I was 7 years old. Dad was at work. Mom asked me to go down to the barn and get something. I hopped in the car, and started it up, and drove down to the barn, and it was snowing, and I burned the transmission up. I knocked out the straight stick transmission. My dad got home that night, and he says, you're gonna have to put a different one in there. I says, do we have one? He said, I'll have it here. So a guy brought it that night. It was a 1947 Chevy. And my dad brought it into the shop to make sure it had all the grease and stuff in it, and he says, wow, did you put that in? He said, no, my kid did. He said, how did you do that? Because they're the worst transmissions to change. I don't remember it. I can remember myself, but I had small hands going in there and out. That was the big thing. You had to have small hands. Well, I don't have small hands anymore.
Even though you said you're gonna retire, how do you think your job will change in the next 10 years?
I don't think there'll be a building there. If there is, it might be at point like, trying to think of the big company that sends a lot of stuff out, where the computer puts it in there, you have people that work there, you throw it on UPS or Speedy or in the mail.
Hardware freight?
Well, something like that, but there's, like Google or Rock Auto, that's another one. Rock Auto's a good one that does that. And I look on Rock Auto. I look up, sometimes you can't find a part. I'll get on Rock Auto, and sometimes the terminology of a part sometimes changes. So when you go to Rock Auto, they're the old-fashioned style. They'll tell you right away if it's a sensor or if it's a thermostat. Some of them will just say heat, and it don't make sense. So they're putting their own terminology, changing it. But
You've got just a hair over 10 minutes of class time left.
Can we go football?
Oh yeah, football guys are out at 3:15, so
Good luck.
well, thanks, guys.
good luck at your game tonight.
Have fun.
And we'll continue our conversation about how Larry communicates. Thanks, guys.
Yes.
Yeah, later.
How many parts would you say you go through every week? Or cars that come through?
I think on the average, every week, we probably go through about 5,000 to 10,000 parts. You're talking little pieces, and you're talking big pieces. I sell body parts too, fenders, and I don't sell glass. You've got,
Please release all the football players at this time.
Yeah.
you've
Always
got,
just a step ahead, Miss
yeah.
Margaret.
You probably just noticed them walking by.
You're ahead of the game. So there's a whole mess of parts. When I talk anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000, you're talking just a little switch that screws in, or a distributor cap, or a rotor, or something like that, or a set of spark plug wires. It all adds up in a very big hurry. You don't realize it until you do a inventory count. So, yes.
You said that your first kind of mechanic job started at when you were 7.
Mhm.
So how did you study outside of your career?
I did. Oh, you mean for work or for schooling?
Outside of your schooling, how did you know that you wanted to be a mechanic?
I just kept working at it. I just did it every day. I'd work on old Hudsons and Frasers, and, I mean, this is a long time ago, but,
There's some neat cars though.
yeah, there were some neat old cars. We even I helped cut a '53 Chevy in half and put big tires on the back end and shortened up the frame, and we had our own homemade tractor, so we could go through, pull stuff out, you know. So throughout my whole life, I worked at it. My brother ended up in the military, in the Marine Corps. He ended up being a mechanic. And I was disgruntled about that, but I was an infantryman, so, and that didn't bother me. I mean, I did what I was supposed to do, so.
Jalen, sometimes you'll hear people say that necessity taught them or that ingenuity taught them.
Yeah.
Larry's a great example of that.
I mean, I learned by watching, hands-on, and doing. You know, that, if you can't learn from that, sorry.
How does honesty impact your work environment?
It impacts it, but I don't think, everybody that comes into the store, I treat them just like any other person. I don't treat anybody special. But if a person comes in and says, well, I bought this here X amount of days ago, and I'll pull it up, and my computer says it never sold here. You bought it from someplace else. I said, I'll give you credit, but you're gonna get 10% less because you didn't buy it here. So you take 10% off of what that price would be if I sold it over the counter. So I don't call them a liar or anything like that. I just say, this is what I will do. You know, so you have to be fair to everybody.
So was your father or mother mechanic then, or?
My father was.
So he was like, that was his job?
Well, no,
mechanic?
that wasn't his job, but he was in the service 12 years. He was in the Army and the Navy. And in the Navy, he was a cook. In the Army, he was infantry. So it was a necessity back then. You had to fix your own stuff because it was too expensive. You know, like she asked, I was getting 75 cents an hour when I was 11th grader for working at a job. And when you brought a car in to get fixed, depending on what was wrong, I'll just say I had an alternator or a generator back then. Generator without, that was $60 to get, that was labor and the generator. And that took a lot of money. You had to save a lot to get that to fix. So you learn to do it yourself. You know, you see some of these old timers like myself that lived back then, when they fixed something, it was because of necessity. Yes?
In our area, do you deal more with like farmers getting parts from you, or?
I do all. I got a lot of farmers that are, our customer base has, if you fill out a piece of paper to buy from us to charge, for a charge account, you got your references and everything, and then you're put in the system, you're given a number, or usually we do is just type in the first 3 letters of the last name, and you're there, so, and you can charge there, and I have a lot of farmers that are on that system. Yes?
Do you ever get like speech anxiety if you have to talk to people, or does that ever bug you?
It did years ago,
How'd you get over it?
just kept doing it.
Necessity.
Repetition, you know, and with me, I've taught gun training for almost 20 years, and working with the kids, it helps because you want them to understand where you're coming from. You need to express how important it is to learn, because nowadays, you need this education. I could have quit school and finished out whatever I was doing, but I graduated. And out of 8 kids, how many do you think of my brothers and sisters graduated? Just me. And I'm the oldest.
Larry, you've got about 5 minutes
Is there a
left.
question here?
Where do you teach gun training?
Gun range out on Highway 14.
Okay.
It's been there for a few years. We used to do it here in the high school in the lunchroom. So,
Times have changed.
huh?
I said that's a joke nowadays.
The lunchroom?
Yeah, doing firearm safety in the lunchroom.
Yeah.
That'd be a joke.
We don't do that
Yeah,
anymore,
that'd be a
so.
joke. Yes,
I
it's
think
very
Ben
big.
still does it at their school though.
So you said you work with kids, and how do you think that the future
Guys.
generations are gonna be impacted by all your automotive parts and gun range.
I think the kids out there, they know where I come from, they know that all of us, we've had schooling on training. I've had training in the service, we have, I think there's only one other that was in the service that does this. But I've got Chuck Gaxeter, he's 30-some plus years, Eldon Welberg's 30 years, I'm 20-some years. And we've got new guys coming in so that they learn as we teach, and they understand where we come from, and I think the kids, except at one table, we'll find out Tuesday, because it's test night. We'll see how much they listened, because we try, when we read or we talk about the book and in training, or even teaching them, we try to make them understand the importance of knowing and of learning, because if you don't learn, you won't get the test, you won't be able to go hunting. Because the laws now say if you were born after 1972, you have to have a gun safety certificate.
Yep.
Otherwise you can't even shoot a squirrel or a rabbit anymore, so without that certificate.
You have just a couple minutes left,
Anybody else?
so. Any final thoughts you want to leave these guys with about communication or careers or
Communication is
life?
the best thing. Don't be afraid to speak what you have on your mind. But be diplomatic about it. Because if you're not diplomatic, it'll get you in trouble.
Let's thank Larry.
Thank you.